The needle goes in, but she's in so much shock, she doesn't feel it. How could things have changed so quickly? How could they have gone downhill so fast? She thinks back to just Wednesday night when he was laughing and playing racquetball with his friends. Then on Thursday, he thought he had the flu. On Friday, she was worried about her fiance, so she decided to take him to the doctor's office. That's when the horror began. When the nurse called him back, he was too weak to stand. They rushed him to Ferrex's critical care unit. When they got there, they ran multiple tests to discover that he had a rare blood disease called bacterial endocarditis. He was dying, and the only thing that would save him was open heart surgery. But his body was not strong enough to survive it. The family was told that the only thing they could do was pray, and that was something that they did relentlessly. Finally, they found out that he needed a blood transfusion. Give her blood. That was something she could do. If it would save the life of the man she loved, my mom would do anything. This is a true story, and without the blood of others helping him, my dad, as well as my brother and I, wouldn't be here today. But there's a story of a love even greater than the love that my mom had for my dad. A man who not only gave his blood for us, but he also gave his life. This man was Jesus. He was relentless after each and every single one of us, and he came to die so that he could free us. He was relentless after us, and we need to be relentless after him. We read of a man named Peter in Matthew 14:22-30. This passage says, "Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side, while he dismissed the crowd. After he dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone, but the boat was already a considerable distance from the land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. During the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. 'It's a ghost,' they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, 'Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid.' 'Lord, if it's you,' Peter replied, 'tell me to come to you on the water.' 'Come,' he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, 'Lord, save me.'" The Bible tells us that Peter was one of Jesus' closest friends. He was relentless after him. He was willing to die for this man. He got out of the boat to walk on the water towards Jesus. But when the winds and the waves and the storm all around him started to push against him, he turned away from Jesus, and he started to fall. This is what can happen to us if we're not relentless after Christ. We read of another passage in Mark when Jesus was dying to save Peter's life. Peter was asked if he knew Jesus, and he denied it, not once but 3 times, saying he didn't know Jesus or anything about him. We need to be relentless after God, in both the easy times and the hard times. It's so easy for us to be relentless after God when the road of life is simple. God has given us so much, all of his love, his joy, his peace, and we want to serve him. But when the road of life gets tough, we don't know what to do, and we turn away from him. But even when we're not relentless after God, he's relentless after us. We read in the next verse that when Peter called out to Jesus, Jesus reached out his hand to save him immediately. This is what Jesus did for us. He came to die for us. He reached out his hand to save us immediately. He could have left us here to die. He could have just left us all here alone. But he saw that we needed help, and he reached out his hand to save us. When we call on his name, he will reach out and save each and every single one of us. Both my mom and Jesus gave their blood. But Jesus gave so much more of a sacrifice because he gave his life. He was relentless after us. And he would have suffered this death from just one person, all because of love. So I ask you this question. Will you be like Peter, relentless in the easy times, but not in the hard times? We need to be the generation who's relentless in both times, and who everybody remembers that we're relentless after God no matter what the cost. I leave you with this question. If you were on trial for being a Christian, would there be enough evidence that you were relentless after Christ to convict you?